it's really been great. And now we'll be leaving and going back to Washington. Okay? Yes.
Mr. President,
Go ahead.
Mr. President, do you want to hear from witnesses in the impeachment trial? Your team has been a little inconsistent on this.
Well, I'll tell you the way I look at it. It's a total hoax. It's a disgrace. They talked about their tremendous case, and it's all done, their tremendous case. They had no case. It's all a hoax. It's a con job, like Schiff. He's a corrupt politician. Now, I'll leave that to the Senate. The Senate's going to have to answer that. I have great respect for the Senate as a body and many of the individuals. I have great respect. So I'll leave that to the Senate. But this is the greatest witch hunt. This started from the day I came down with the future First Lady. The day we came down the escalator, this started. And I watched they've been driven crazy. You know what's driven them crazy? All of these record numbers on unemployment, African American, Asian American. You take a look, Hispanic American is numbers that nobody's even believing. They're looking at all of this. They're looking at this tremendous success, the likes of which they've never seen before in this country. They've never seen anything like this. And it's driven the Democrats crazy. As Congressman Green said, Al Green, he's a beauty. As Congressman Green said, we got to beat him by impeachment because we can't beat him in the election. And I hope that's true because, honestly, they can't beat me in the election. I don't think they can. I know what I'll be running against one way or the other. It's one of them. And I think we're going to do very well. But I think we're going to do well because nobody's done in the first 3 years, less than 3 years, because a lot of these numbers were taken from 2 months ago. They ended 2 months ago. In less than 3 years, nobody's done the kind of numbers we've done. So I'm going to head back and I'll be watching it, but it's really going to be up to the Senate. We're going to have them make that determination. Please.
Yes, Mr. President. You were the keynote speaker here, but you shared some of the spotlight with a Scandinavian teenager, Greta Thunberg.
Oh, that's right.
Who you had said needs to work on her anger. She had some very harsh words.
I didn't say anger. I said anger management.
Anger management, yes, sir. She had some very strong words here that the United States and other industrialized countries need to do more. Do you still feel that you're doing enough?
How old is she?
She's 17 now.
Oh,
yes.
That's good.
But what is your response to her?
She beat me out on Time Magazine.
But did you hear from other world leaders and business leaders who said that they think that she has a message that
No, I didn't, actually. But I would have loved to have seen her speak. I did not. No, not at all. I think aspects of it are, I think that some people they put it at a level that is, unrealistic to a point you can't live your lives. We want to have the cleanest water on earth. We want to have the cleanest air on earth. Our numbers, as you saw, we had record numbers come out very recently. Our numbers are very, very good. Our environmental numbers, our water numbers, our numbers on air are tremendous. We have to do something about other continents. We have to do something about other countries. When we're clean and beautiful and everything's good, but you have another continent where the fumes are rising at levels that you can't believe. I mean, I think Greta ought to focus on those places. But we are doing better right now than we've ever done in terms of cleanliness, in terms of numbers. We have a beautiful ocean called the Pacific Ocean, where thousands and thousands of tons of garbage flows toward us, and that's put there by other countries. So I think Greta has to start working on those other countries.
Mr. President.
By the way, congratulations on your show.
Thank you very much.
They made a very wise decision.
Thank you very much. We invite you for an interview whenever you're available. Can I ask you, just to be clear, and for future presidents, is abuse of power an impeachable offense?
Well, you're going to talk to the lawyers about it, but I will tell you, there's nothing here. I had a very innocent conversation with a very fine gentleman from the Ukraine, and it was based on that. People don't even want to talk about the conversation. I got to watch glimpses in between all of these meetings that I just told you about. I got to watch glimpses of what is taking place, wasting time in Washington. And I watched, they don't talk about my conversation. They don't talk about my transcripts. Remember this, when Schiff made up the phony story and he repeated it to Congress and the world, and it was a totally phony story, then I released the transcript. There was supposed to be a second whistleblower. What happened to him? There was, wait, otherwise I won't do your show. Wait. There was supposed to be an informer. What happened to the informer? All of these people disappeared. And when they saw this transcript, they said, we got problems. But they went ahead because they were already there, because they had a phony, concocted story made up. So here's the story. Did nothing wrong. It was a perfect conversation. It was totally appropriate. The best lawyers in the world have looked at it. The Department of Justice has looked at it, given it a sign-off. There was nothing wrong. They never thought I was going to release the conversation. They probably didn't think we had transcribers or we had it transcribed or taped, but they never thought we were going to release it. When we released that conversation, all hell broke out with the Democrats because they say, wait a minute, this is much different than Shifty Schiff told us. So we're doing very well. I got to watch enough. I thought our team did a very good job. But honestly, we have all the material. They don't have the material.
I ask you because your attorneys say it's not. Alan Dershowitz says the framers of the Constitution did not permit impeachment on grounds like abuse of power or obstruction. They object with open-ended vague criteria. So for future presidents, is abuse of power an impeachable offense?
Well, it depends. But if you take a look at this, and from what everybody tells me, all I do is I'm honest. I make great deals. I've made great deals for our country. Now we're working with the WTO. You're probably surprised by that, but there's been a long-term abusive situation to the U.S. I make great deals for our country, and they're honest deals. And when you read that transcription, and by the way, it wasn't one call, it was two calls. What nobody says is very important to me. Why isn't Germany paying? Why isn't UK paying? Why isn't France paying? Why aren't the European nations paying? Why is it always the sucker, United States? That's one. And the other thing I wanted to check very carefully, and is very important, is corruption. And we do that too. This was a perfect call, and I think we're doing very well.
President. From the April Times, I think, Mr. President, for the Phase 2 China trade deal, do you expect human rights in Hong Kong to be part of the discussion?
We are discussing that already, yes. We would like to see if we can do something. But again, we're doing a trade deal, and it's a very big deal. Phase 1 is done. Phase 2 is being discussed. We are discussing aspects of your question, yes.
Mr. President, thank you. Just to clarify on Paula's question, we know that the Senate will set the rules for witnesses, but what do you want? At one point, you demanded witnesses.
I can live either way.
But what do you want?
I'll tell you what I think. It's such a hoax. I think it's so bad for our country. When we have the head of the World Trade Organization here, and he has to listen to this nonsense about a call that was perfect, that nobody talks about. I never see them talking about the transcription. I never see them talking about the call because there's nothing to say. You read it. Somebody should just sit there and read it, and everybody's going to say, you mean that's an impeachable event? If that were impeachable, Lyndon Johnson would have had to leave office in his first day. Kennedy would have had to leave office his first day. It's a hoax. And you understand it's a hoax better than anybody. It's a hoax. And that's the way it is. Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. President, a question on Iran. Initially, you said repeatedly to Americans that after Iran retaliated for the Soleimani strike, no Americans were injured. We now know at least 11 U.S. servicemen were airlifted from Iraq. Can you explain the discrepancy?
No, I heard that they had headaches and a couple of other things, but I would say, and I can report, it is not very serious.
So you don't consider potential traumatic brain injuries serious?
They told me about it numerous days later. You'd have to ask Department of Defense. No, I don't consider them very serious injuries relative to other injuries that I've seen. I've seen what Iran has done with their roadside bombs to our troops. I've seen people with no legs and with no arms. I've seen people that were horribly, horribly injured in that area, that war. In fact, many cases those bombs put there by Soleimani, who's no longer with us. I consider them to be really bad injuries. No, I do not consider that to be bad injuries, no.
The EU trade deal, is there any timeline for that? And if you don't hit that timeline, if there is one, Are you automatically going to go to
I have a
auto tariffs,
time-
or is there another avenue other than auto
Yeah,
tariffs?
great question, actually. I don't have a timeline, but maybe I do in my own mind. They have to move relatively quickly, but they have to treat us fairly. The European Union was formed pretty much for this reason, I suspect. You know, if you really think about it, why was it formed? They formed their airplane company, which does very nicely, and now is doing better than ever because Boeing has not had a good time of it. They better start recovering fast. I hope they do. They have some good people in there now. They have great people in the company, but they have some good people leading it now. So hopefully that'll be taken care of. But I know I have a date in my mind, and it's a fairly quick date. And if we're unable to make a deal, then we'll do even better. We'll do even better. But they haven't treated us right. Look, the United States has been losing $150 billion and more for many years. $150 billion. More. I mean, really more than that with the European Union. They have trade barriers where you can't trade. They have tariffs all over the place. They make it impossible. They are, frankly, more difficult to do business with than China. We have a great relationship with China now. We had some testy moments, very testy, beyond testy. Worse than a lot of people would understand. But we got it done, and I think phase 2 will go nicely also. But with the European Union, and frankly, I'll be honest, I wanted to wait till I finished China before I went to work on, respectfully, Europe. But Europe, you know, is so beautiful. I guess a lot of us come indirectly from Europe. Isn't that nice? But they are actually more difficult to do business with than China. All you have to do is ask Boris. But I think Boris is going to be okay, too. I think he's going to come out great. I think he had a lot of guts. He's done a terrific job. I think he's in a good position, which they would have never been able to do before Boris. I have a date. I have a very specific date in my mind.
Before or after the election? Your election?
Before. I think we'll have a deal before.
With the EU?
Yeah, I think so. They have to do that. I mean, I don't want to, look, I'm not saying it from strength or from weakness. I'm just saying they have to do it. They wanted to make a deal, our nation, our country, wanted to make a deal under President Obama. The EU refused to talk to them. And then they said, no, we like it the way it is. Of course they like it the way it is. They're making $150 billion plus, right? And as you know, President Bush was desperate to make a deal. They wouldn't even talk to him. Me, they're talking to. And we'll have a deal. If we don't have a deal, we'll do even better.
Mr. President.
Yes, ma'am.